so Johnny Slicks just launched recently the water-based pomade.
Mm-hmm.
So why did you want to create a water-based solution pomade?
So the creation of water-based was something that it was long outstanding for me, a project. Oil-based seemed to be my intro. Formula 49 clay pomade seemed to be the second step to that. Water-based I knew was going to be the big mountain that I'd have to overcome. But in reality...
But what is it? Like, why that one, though?
Yeah, so each pomade has its own specific traits to it, and water-based is water-soluble and a stronghold, which is like high demand. That's what I used when I was in. That's what most of our demographic uses because they're law enforcement, first responder, which we do offer the discount for, which they're all using on the water-based. But the water-based specifically, I wanted something that was water-soluble, something that washes out easy, and something that will hold throughout the entire day, something that you can put a cover on and off, you can put your hat on, your uniform, whatever, and it'll still hold.
Yeah.
And you can go home, rinse it out. You don't need to wash 7 times because most petroleum-based garbage pomades out there that'll hold that much are just filled with garbage. So you need to wash your hair 7 times just to get it out before you go to sleep. I wanted something that you didn't have to wash out, but if you needed to, it just washed out, no problem. And something that's stronghold, and water-based is that type of pomade. The one problem I encountered with it was water and oil don't really mix that well. I don't know if, most people know that, but so I needed to overcome that in order to get a water-soluble, something that would wash out and something that would hold, but something that moisturizes as well, because most water-based pomade, actually all water-based pomades on the market, we're the only one that makes it organic. Everyone else uses artificial and natural types of ingredients, which are alcohols and formaldehydes that dry your scalp out. So the one thing I wanted with this, I needed it to be moisturizing. I needed it to something that would wash out and moisturize after wearing it and during wearing it. That was the big overcoming. So we ended up figuring it out.
Yeah, so it was a challenge because we were going to launch it you're going to launch it Black Friday
of 21. Yeah.
And you figured out a formula in your, like, you went back old school.
Yeah.
Like you went back to
the roots,
the home kitchen.
Yeah.
And got out of the lab. But there was a problem there when you went to put it in production.
Yeah. So my main batches at the house were only like 6 jars, 6 4-ounce jars. And
those are the ones that I was testing, right? You were sending those to me.
Yeah. And I would test in the 4-ounce jars, and I would make back to 6 of them. And I finally figured it out. I was like, yeah, man, this has been like up and coming. I've been waiting for so long for this. And as soon as I went to go pour, I think that the main batch I was pouring was like 600 or something. It was like a lot of pomade. And as soon as I poured the first quarter of that batch, I noticed that they weren't settling the same way.
What was the issue?
It was heat. It was a cooling. So like all of these products, we don't use emulsifiers, so that when you pour it, the jar has to be the right temperature, and then they have to be put in a temperature controlled area so the ingredients don't separate, because most of these things are colloids. They separate if they're left, out and about.
Yeah.
So I poured into a room temperature jar, but what I poured was about like maybe 200 degrees ish. When I poured it in there, it was sitting around other jars that were also at that same temperature. So in theory, they just kept kind of cooking.
Okay.
They didn't cool fast enough, so the ingredients all separated. When I was home doing it, I only made 6.
So they're all separated.
So they were all separated, so they cooled. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'll just split them up a little bit. It didn't work. It must have been too hot in the lab from all the machines running. Put them in the fridge. Something still didn't work, so I had to hit the drawing board again.
So what was the solution to that issue? I mean, I know now that we cool them.
Ratio of ingredients. Yeah, we cool them in the fridge now. Yeah.
So you just had to adjust the formula.
Yeah. So I actually
so that they didn't separate.
Yeah, I leave jars out for room temperature because that's the most easily controlled substance of the jars. So I'll leave the jars out room temperature, and I'll pour at the same about 200 degrees. But then we put them immediately into the fridge with about a 6-inch gap between all of the jars. It gives them enough airflow and enough cooling.
We're gonna need a bigger fridge.
Definitely need a bigger fridge. Actually, I was just talking to Tom about that because we have to rotate the jars.
Okay.
Yeah. So pouring into a room temperature, if you pour too fast into a room temperature jar, if the product is too hot, it concaves in the middle.
Yeah,
because it sticks to the edges.
I actually had one of those, a tester that did that.
That's the exact same formula, exact same ingredients. All you do is scoop your finger, and it's the exact same thing. It's just how it cools.
It's like a little divot in the middle of the jar.
It like dips in the middle.
Yeah.
It's because it sticks to the sides, and it cools faster on the sides. The middle is the last part to cool. The core of the product is the last thing to cool. So that thing is the hottest in the middle, and that's what takes the longest. That's why it dips in the middle. It's still the same product, but
Problem solved.
yeah, it works.
I love it.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
It's quickly becoming one of my favorite pomades.
Yeah. What I love about it too is I overcame a huge stressor and a factor that was majorly holding me back from moving forward on product development. I was thinking I need to make a water-based that will meet expectations, the expectations of what's on the market. The consumers are expecting for it to feel this certain way, to be this certain way. And I was like, why isn't my product looking like the ones on the market? I don't understand. And then it just clicked. One day I was like, well, what if everything on the market feels and looks that way because it's full of chemicals? What if it's the chemicals that are making it act like that, and that's why I can't achieve it because I'm not using chemicals?
Yeah, and we're not going to, so we can't.
I'm not going to. So as soon as I tossed that to the side, I said, fuck it. I'm not doing what everyone is expecting.
Stop trying to copy them.
Yeah.
But not use their rules.
So I wanted to make a perfect pomade. How can I make a perfect pomade if I'm basing it off of a flawed item?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense at all. A copy of a copy is not going to be an original, no matter how many times you look at it. So I was like, fuck it. I'm going to toss all that to the side and do what I want. What are the two things it needs to be? Water soluble and stronghold. Got it. Let's work. That's it. I just started mixing ingredients and solving the Black Friday issue where it didn't cool properly. I just mixed the ratios. We use a lot of shea butter in it, which is phenomenal for moisturizing, and shine. It gives you high shine, high hold, so it's perfect. As soon as I mixed around the ratio of beeswax to shea butter and doing all that, it seemed to work. Everything came out fine.